Welcome back to Dead to the Code. This is Chris.
And I'm Ian.
I like how we do that every time. This is Chris, pause, and I'm Ian.
Yeah,
um, we're back for another episode. Ian, it's been a moment since we hopped on the podcast.
I know we have to apologize. It's been kind of a long time, but I hope it's worth it because this show is really good. And I've listened to it like four times because we pushed back the recording date. So I listened to it a whole bunch. Um, won't spoil anything to begin with, but
I was gonna say the same thing. It's hilarious that we both had to watch the show so many times because we kept pushing back the recording. So we had to like keep reminding ourselves of how the show went and what songs were played and everything. But I took some notes beforehand so that I can come into this prepared because I understand a lot of people listening might not have actually gone through the whole show like we did. So this show was August 20th, 2021 at Citi Field. We're aware of that. This is home of the Mets, but John wasn't wearing any Mets apparel tonight. Ian, you probably only listened, right? You didn't watch.
yeah, I only listened. But noted Mets fan John Mayer, although I think he ramped up his Mets fandom after this, I feel like. Or maybe he didn't. I don't know.
I think so as well. I think this year, like, he became a big, like, Lindor. I mean, I think he's been a Lindor fan, but this year was such a special year for the Mets that I think a lot of Mets fans got, like, back into it this past year. Um, but John was wearing a Sob Rock shirt, so he was promoting his own album that came out right around this time, which is
Oh, of
funny. Bob was wearing short shorts, his jeans,
course.
class,
Well, this was
classic look.
June or sorry, August. So summer in New York.
Yeah, I even looked up the weather. It was 80 degrees at the time of the show, 7:30 p.m. kickoff.
Crazy.
Um, Yeah, show number 153 by Dead and Company. We were actually at the show right before this, Ian. Well, it was Jiffy Lube Live on the 18th of August.
Okay. Really? I forgot. I thought all of our shows were like June and July shows. I realized there was a couple August.
Yeah, this year because of COVID, this was one of the first shows back post-pandemic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Feels like so long ago.
Right. Um, Yeah, so this was show number three of the 2021 tour. I'll just get these stats out of the way on deadandcodatabase.com. This has an average rating of 4.27 Dancing Bears, which is pretty good, I think. And
Okay.
its song rareness was 39.33%, which is like pretty middle of the pack. I know that doesn't mean
Yeah,
much
I
without
was
the
gonna say
context.
this didn't pop out either way. Like a lot of heavy rotation songs, or at least moderate rotation songs, but I felt like it wasn't like completely like redundant show. Like I thought how the songs went together was pretty good.
Right. Do you want to hit us with the first song of the night?
Yeah, let the good times roll. I think one of my favorite, not one of my favorite songs overall, but like they played the song 20 times, I believe, total. Like a really fun song to start out. Um, just like the message of the song, the lyrics, kind of lend to, you know, opening a show. And also kind of boppy, kind of, get up and dance a bit. I didn't know if you had any notes on this.
I think you covered it well. I did look up. This was the debut of Let the Good Times Roll by Dead and
Really?
Company.
Okay. Because there is one more show. There's like a version of this that I listen to a lot that's been like my top played for like a year. Like the Wrapped. Um, but not this one. I really like it. Interesting. Um, I don't really know who wrote this song because I knew it previously as like the Cars, one of the bands that I kind of was coming up to speed with music when I was a little kid. I know BB King covered it. Um, I was trying to look into it. It looks like Shirley and the Lee was the first. No, Louis Jordan looks like to be the first one. But I know at least in Setlist FM, I don't know if you looked into it anymore. It's attributed to Sam Cooke, who who played a version of this song. And the very first show on Sam Cooke's Setlist FM profile is at Clemson University, November 7th, 1964,
Okay. Wow.
which is my alma
That's
mater. But it looks like he wasn't the original author. But interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a cover until like today when I was reading about the set list, and I also saw a different name beside of it. But yeah, I couldn't tell you who wrote it. But thank you for looking into that. Yeah, Let the Good Times Roll is a great song, and it's funny that they debuted in 2021, but it already is up to 20 plays. It's one of their it's trending upwards in terms of its performance. Like they play it a lot more recently, and they've actually opened 15 shows with it. So 14 since this one show. So yeah, we move out of Let the Good Times Roll into Bertha, which was like kind of the true opener, I guess. Well, Let the Good Times Roll was the opener, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that like it always seems to be like it could have been flipped. Like they could have opened with Bertha and they got good. The same
Yeah.
with I think our previous show was the same way.
Yeah, they went Bertha into Good Lovin'. Yeah, so it's funny that we covered back-to-back shows like that. But those were good. We go into Big Railroad Blues, and at this point, I'm noticing this is a really like high energy, major key start to the show. I mean, all of these songs are like more upbeat, positive songs. And then you get the real bluesy Big Railroad Blues. But I just thought it was interesting that they came out of the gates kind of firing like that.
Yeah, I mean, this was a show that kind of flew by for me. My first notes, I have my two notes on this. I love the ending of Good Love. I always love it, but this one was a good one. We kind of went over that last episode, so I won't, repeat myself here. But then my next note is actually on the next song after this. So like the show kind of flew by, and I kind of forgot I was supposed to be paying more attention on it.
But that's a good thing. I think that shows you that the music's kind of taking over, and you can't control how you receive these songs and these shows. They're going to come to you and hit you in different ways. And I think that that's the appropriate thing to do is just let the music take you. And if you forget that you're supposed to be, reviewing or analyzing it, that's a good thing, you know? Do you want to talk about the next song since you mentioned you had some notes on
Yeah,
it?
Ramble on Rose. I love this song. There's like a whole bunch of really good versions. I feel like it's a song that's kind of like US blues where like the song to me, like the way I think of it is like it's just a bunch of statements and the way that you kind of say the lyrics like very kind of choppily. It's very poetic and I love Bob with the Wolf Bros has done a couple of these songs as like duets, which is really cool and a couple of people have done the same thing. I thought John and Jeff were really good here. I think they were good this entire show. I think this is where they kind of like locked in, just kind of riffing back and forth.
That's great insight. Ramble on Rose, I really like the lyrics, just like Mary Shelley, just like Frankenstein. Also, just like New York City, that got the crowd going.
Yeah,
So they had to drop that in there. I'm not sure if any of their other songs mention New York. Probably Truckin', right?
yeah. Trekkin's the other one that's always been a big one. Um, for New York specifically, I don't know if any others come to mind.
Yeah, there could be something that we're just overlooking. Interesting about Ramble on Rose, as you were speaking, I was looking it up. It's been played 54 times, so on the higher end. And according to deadandcodb.com, that I won't stop referencing because it's awesome, it's trending neutral. So it hasn't picked up in recent years, it hasn't declined. It's just been a consistent, steady song that they drop in there on a routine basis.
Yeah, I'm wondering, and maybe we can do this, contribute something to these databases. I'm wondering if most of the trending up songs are like not Grateful Dead originals. That maybe more of them are like the other older covers that they start to play more and more. What like Let the Good Times Roll.
Yeah, that could be that could be true. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's interesting to think about. Um, we go out of Ramble on Rose into They Love Each Other. Now, recently they started playing around with They Love Each Other and they do the version that's more like China Cat kind of.
Mhm.
Which version do you prefer of the song?
Um, I don't know. I really like this song. I think I'm trying to like put it in a chronological order in my mind. Um, I can't remember. Did they used to play it like slow and then they've sped it up, or it's the reverse?
Yeah, I think they traditionally and still do play it slowly, and then they recently, I think, just that Folsom Field show, and then probably some others. They do like the sped up version of it, which is fun. You know, it's fun to throw in variety, but
Yeah.
ultimately, I think the way it was performed in this show is the status quo. And yeah, I do like They Love Each Other as one of my early favorites, and it still held up well for me. So I thought this was a good song placement after on Ramble on Rose.
Yeah, I liked it as well. A little longer to my memory. I have the song.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't have. Do you
13
know how
minutes,
long it
that's
was?
probably fair. 13 and a half
Seems,
minutes. Um,
seems
but
pretty
kind of
long.
in the middle of Rainbow and Rose was a little longer. Um, this one, and then the next one being Cassidy, all 10 minutes plus, was like the big chunk of the first set.
Yeah, did it lose you at all, or were you still like captivated throughout?
No, it didn't lose me. Um, I just thought it was,
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm just curious, because when they start to stretch it out, does that mean that it's starting to stretch out the attention span too? But I think that they did a good job as well. Cassidy is becoming, maybe I'm ashamed to say, but I never was like huge into Cassidy back in the day, but recently I've started to like that song a lot more, and I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think it's one that kind of, I think I was the same as you, and it kind of almost benefits at the longer version. Um, there's a couple Grateful Dead songs I think when you have the longer versions and let it breathe a little bit more that you start to see things that you might not in the shorter versions.
Right. Okay. And then we go out of Cassidy into the last song of the set, which is Casey Jones. Um, I always find it funny when Casey Jones, I mean, it was a set closer, to be fair, but to me, it's more of a show closer because the energy gets so
Yeah,
wild at the end. But I
yeah,
guess it's fair to end a set.
yeah. I kind of like it as the set one closer. There's a couple of versions that I've heard over the years. Um, it kind of in the same function as the show closer, but having that energy going to the break and then having like Casey Jones is also a song where they'll go like really, really fast and just stop kind of abruptly. I don't know, I do like it as a set one closer too.
Yeah, it was fun. Um, okay, so we're in between sets. I have to say, Ian, are you wearing another Billy String shirt right now?
Yeah, I probably have a ton of them. Um,
Every episode, you gotta bust out a new one.
yeah, I think I have more than Dead and Co shirts at this
Yeah. All right. And then I just thought of, as we were doing this, a new segment that we can do like mid-set trivia. Um,
point. Okay.
so I just came up with this trivia question on the fly. I think you'll get it. What two band members share the same birthday?
Oh, I've definitely heard this before. It's not John and Bob, is it? That seems
It
kind of obvious.
is.
Yeah, no, I every year I'm like, really? Like it seems so insane, but yeah.
Yeah. It's in October. Let me look up the exact date. Um, I accidentally typed in John Mayer Bob Day instead of John Mayer birthday. Um, October 16th. So
Awesome.
not too far,
Okay.
not too far from
Yeah,
your birthday.
yeah, no, I was gonna if I was trying to think, I almost said I don't remember what I almost said. But when you said October, I almost said like October 6th, I think. I don't know. Maybe it was in the back of my mind somewhere.
Yeah, it sounds like it was. All right, so that's our mid-set trivia for the day. I think that's a fun new segment to entertain us during the set break. Do you want to start us out with the opener of set two?
Yeah, Eyes of the World. I really like this. I wish this was the long one. This was almost 20 minutes, which I love. This is one of my favorite long songs. We've talked about this before. Um, a lot of like Grateful Dead versions that I like are like pushing the 20-minute mark. I think this is emblematic of the show in terms of tempo. And I have another comment this later in the set, but kind of like starting out really slow and then ramping up into the next couple of songs. Like they really kind of move the tempo along pretty well in this show.
Yeah, and I do love Eyes of the World, and I love the bass solo that we get in it. Um, Honestly, I can't remember the specific one from this show at the top of my head right now, but I'm pretty sure they gave us one because they usually do, especially if it's that long. So yeah, Eyes of the World, great set two opener, and immediately just plunges you right into the set, pretty much, kind of like what you're saying with the pacing. Um, and then after Eyes of the World, we go into Uncle John's Band, another long one, another great jam. I thought they did this pretty well, but also it
Yeah.
was just another Uncle John's Band too. Nothing stood out particularly to me.
Yeah, do you know, I'm assuming you didn't look. It's something I should have looked up. Um, Obviously we didn't pair Estimated Profit with Eyes of the World. I'm wondering if they played it the next show, or I don't remember them teasing it at all, but I might have missed it.
I can tell you right now, they did play it in Philadelphia the next night.
Okay.
Um, Then we get China Doll, and we were talking about China Doll, I think, when we were talking about maybe underrated songs because you wanted to put in an O'Teal song, but China Doll you felt was maybe a little too mainstream. Um, but I thought this was nice, and everyone's really getting to sing this show. You had Let the Good Times Roll, where they pass off the vocals, and then China Doll for O'Teal, so I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, love whenever O'Teal gets to sing. Great song. Any song that mentions a hurdy-gurdy is awesome in my book. I thought John was really good here. Very bluesy. Kind of the song that like makes me want to pick up my guitar and try to figure out some of these blues lines.
That's cool. Yeah, you just got a new guitar recently, right?
Yeah, but I'd pull out the electric I've had for a while on this, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and then we go to the other song with China in the name, China Cat Sunflower. This is always a bop. A pretty more popular song by them. So we are seeing this show have some popular songs like Eyes, China Cat, and more. But yeah, I think that this was a fun placement to kind of get the energy up after China Doll.
Yeah, and I think this is where I wanted to say that like they were really good in this show and like playing with the tempo. Going through China Doll kind of consistently a slower pace song. China Cat has that abrupt tag at the beginning. Um,
Right.
and then going into I Know You're Rider after this, kind of like peaking in China Cat, kind of coming down a little bit into I Know You're Rider, into that sort of what everyone's waiting for in that song and Bob's verse. Um, Kind of really interesting tempo, dynamics in the second set.
Yeah, and you cruise from like China Cat Riders like a smooth drive right into drums and
Yeah.
space. So I think you really have driven home the pacing of this show was really good, and that's not something that I had been completely aware of. So it's cool to kind of come to that realization as we're talking. I thought this Drums in Space, I actually watched it, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was better than our baseline in that we covered during our last show.
Okay. Yeah, I need to start watching these shows because I feel like I'd appreciate it more. I will
Sure.
say, I did like the space too. I did note that. I don't even remember the last one. I need to
Right.
go back and listen back to back to try to get a good comparison. But I will
Hey,
say, what?
If you do that, you're a true deadhead. If you're
Yeah,
gonna listen to drums
that's
back to
true.
back to see which version is better.
We should do that. Should be an episode we do in the future. Is like all drums in space episode where we just compare like a whole bunch of shows.
That's actually a really fun idea. I'm gonna write
I'll have
that
to
down
find
right
like
now.
a special occasion to do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm writing that down. Um, okay, yeah, in space they played what is it called? Spanish. It's not Spanish interlude, but
Spanish Jam.
uh yeah, Spanish Jam. They played that before going into Althea, so that added a little bit of flavor to space, in my opinion. Not one that I'm super familiar with, but I had seen it on the set list and I heard it as well, and it sounded good. So I thought it gave it a little bit of flavor.
Yeah, and like we said, I listened to the show a whole bunch before we finally recorded this episode, and I really love this Althea. I really loved it out of space, going back to the pacing, kind of having like that good space and then bringing it down, jumping right into Althea. So when I was listening to the show, I was playing it at work and I would play like the last 30 seconds of space. So I really got the transition into Althea when I wanted to listen to it.
That's cool. Yeah, I thought it was a interesting placement, but a welcome one. So it was a cool and good Althea. I mean, they do Althea very well. Of course, it suits John very well. People make jokes that it's like a John Mayer song, based on the amount that John Mayer loves it. And I feel like John Mayer fans who are just starting to get into Dead and Company or something might look to Althea as like the song. Um, but I like it and I thought it was good. So yeah, an interesting spot for Althea and it pays off. And then we go into Stella Blue. Um, I'm gonna be completely honest. I kind of like I don't know what it is, but every time I watched, I kind of zoned out during Stella Blue. But I read online like a lot of different reviews of people loving this rendition. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Um, no, I have to admit, I was similar to you that I didn't really have too much on this. I mean, obviously it was going to be a song in the same vein. Um, a spot for like Black Peter or I'm trying to think of another one. Kind of like the slower song that's sandwiched in between the
Yeah.
last sort of tempo and then before closing the set and going on to the encore.
Yeah. I'm curious how many times they played Stella Blue, so let me look that up real quickly. It looks like it's been played 40 times and is trending neutrally. So 40 times, that's more than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they've played it every day of the week. Fun fact. This website is truly awesome. Um, And then we go into US Blues, which you were saying earlier, same thing with Rambo on Rose that you're saying. Can you expand on that? That they're just kind of statements back to back in the lyrics?
I don't know, at least especially when Jerry Garcia played it. Just like the lyrics are very like you know how like some songs the line like as it's spoken is like longer than how it necessarily would be written if you were to like write out the lyrics.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes sense. This is like very line by line, and it's meant to be that way because like the just there's a word for this specifically of how you put syllables over notes and music. It's meant to be very like line by line and be very grid like towards the music,
Yeah.
which is something I like personally. But I do feel like they have a similar role and tempo. Just like Ramble on Rose is normally like a first set, and then US Blues is at least for Dead and Co normally a second set. I would say, kind of at the spot where it's here.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I thought it was a cool point, so that's why I just wanted to hear more. I think that U.S. Blues is always a fun song during the summer. Now, this was a little bit later in August, but they often play it around the 4th of July, and it's not necessarily a patriotic song, but it just has U.S. Blues and the imagery and everything. So, yeah, this was a good song, and I enjoyed it, and a good way to pretty much close us out before we get into our encore, which is maybe your favorite Dead and Company song.
No, for well, I mean, song like regardless of artist, yeah, but like I can't pick the weight as one of my favorite
Dead and
Dead and
Company
Company.
songs.
I do
Well,
love the band.
yeah.
Hold on, I have
Oh, you have your the
the
band tape.
band on
Nice.
cassette. It's on. I don't know what cell it's on, but the weight's on here. Um, Love the band. It's a great song. It's a great encore. Like it makes a ton of sense why Dead and Co would want to play it. Have everyone have a verse with some extra. Um, it's like one of the best encores of all time, I think.
Yeah.
For
So
Grateful Dead, which is also like a very um, ton of good options for an encore, but the way I think is one of the best ones.
yeah, no matter what band performs it, it always hits. It's just one of those songs that is just so good. You'd think it was a Bob Dylan song or something like that. So yeah, I thought this was fun because they opened the show with everyone singing. Well, I don't think Oteil sings on Good Times, but they opened the show with most of the band singing, then they closed it with most of the band singing. So a very like collective night. So yeah, all in all, I thought this show was pretty good. I mean, we watched
That's a
it
good
several
point.
times
I
each.
didn't, yeah, I didn't pick up on the fact that they kind of open and closed with like the same sort of everyone take a verse song.
Yeah, who knows if it was intentional or not? I feel like it would be. A lot of thought goes into these set lists. But yeah, I thought it was a good show. And I'm glad we watched it. But I do think there are other City Field shows that are probably better. So excited to watch those at some point as well.
Yeah, I thought about pretending to listen to the wrong show again. Be like, oh yeah, 2021,
That's so
right?
funny. Yeah, the first time we tried doing this, for those of you who are new to the pod, we got our dates confused, so we watched different shows.
Yeah.
Um, well, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Dead to the Co because I'll be heading out to Vegas this week for nights 1 and 2 of Sphere. So Ian, I'm gonna be since it's not my personal Instagram, I have like no shame. I'm just gonna be like posting stories, I
Yeah,
feel like the whole time.
yeah, you should.
Um, so that should be cool. Interesting to see if they do anything different from last year. We were both fortunate enough to go to that. And we'll see if they have like you know, I guess it would mostly just be new visuals, but we'll see if anything is interesting. I hope to hear Cassidy because I've never heard that song before. So live.
Okay, that's surprising. I would have thought we would have heard it.
Actually, maybe it was played in Hershey Park, but I might be wrong. But yeah, any other notes, Ian, before we head out for the show?
No, I think great show. Starting to get into a little bit more. I think this one is probably my favorite so far, but
Hmm.
got a lot more to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, but that's a good way to end it. So we'll see you next time on Dead to the Co. And thanks for listening.